Hi, I'm Sarah and you're watching Acid Burn Saya. And today I have decided I read 3 thrillers for fall. I had planned to read 5, but unfortunately the other 2 aren't happening. And I don't seem to be really reading thrillers at the moment. I seem to have jumped off. So instead of waiting to read more thrillers, I decided I'd just do the video now. In the 3 books that I read, the first book that I read in my thriller fall was The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I hadn't read any Lucy Foley before, and I'm not really a thrillers person to begin with, but I decided for October and November I would read some thrillers, some scary books. Truthfully, I'd wished I had waited to January for this book, and if you haven't read The Hunting Party, I would recommend reading it end of December, start of January, because that's when it's set. It is set on New Year's Day. It is this group of friends from university that go up to a lodge in the Highlands of Scotland. I think it's the Highlands of Scotland. As they meet up every year for New Year's and they spend New Year's together. It's got the wintry vibe, and I had pictured a completely different book whenever I went into it. I think I had pictured, when I saw the words The Hunting Party, I really thought it was going to be, you know, like that movie where they hunt. There's a movie and they hunt the bride. They hunt the bride to try and kill her. I thought it was going to be something like that. I thought it was going to be like all these people are put together and someone's off like murdering them. That's really what I thought the book was going to be, but that is nothing like what the book was. I definitely was prepared for a completely different book than I got. So you come in with 5 different points of views. You have 3 of the party themselves, and you have 2 of the workers. 2 of the workers at the cabin. 3 of them are set before the murder and 2 of them are set after. I can't remember if the 2 that are set after, if they have point of views before the murder as well. I cannot remember for the life of me if they are. One of them I think does. I'm not 100% sure. Truthfully, I really preferred the three that were before the murder, because that seemed to be where the drama was happening. And I much preferred the drama bit of this thriller than trying to figure out who was murdered. I was more interested in the drama that was happening in the group of friends. Funny enough, I borrowed it from the library and listened to it on audiobook and with Libby, with the Northern Ireland Library. I enjoyed it. The only problem I had, I read The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook earlier on in the year, and I bought both the physical copy and the audiobook. And it's funny enough, the audiobook, 2 of the audiobook actors are actually actors in this, because they're Scottish. And so for the Scottish accent, so I think I had some weird issues with that, because I was like, oh, but you played such and such. So yes, I had some weird issues with that. I think because of that, maybe that's why I didn't connect with the 2 Scottish points of view, because I knew them from a different book. It wasn't overly spicy, which I was fine with. I'm not a big one for spice, so I was happy enough with it. There was an awful lot of red herrings in this book, which I was happy enough with. I did guess most of the twists with the main characters themselves, but there was bits that I thought were going to come into play that was going to be the reason for this person dying, and they weren't, which was fine. It's just me coming up with plots that I see. I would recommend it. I did enjoy it. I mean, thrillers aren't really my thing, but I thought it was good. But it felt cold because you're trapped in the Highlands of Scotland, so it's that snow and that cold and just, yeah, dead winter. It just feels like dead winter. Better to read it. The audiobook was okay, and it was an ensemble cast on the audiobook, which is always a good thing. But funny enough, it's been selling really well in work. I work in a bookshop, and it is selling really well in work. It keeps coming in, and it's not even on any of our charts or anything, and it just randomly keeps coming in, which is fine because it is selling. Lucy Foley herself is selling in work because the Paris apartment came out, and so it is selling. So at least I can talk about The Hunting Party. If you're into thrillers, I do actually recommend The Hunting Party. But yes, read it in January. Read it end of December, January. The next thriller that I read, The Couple Next Door by Shari Lapena. I apologise completely for butchering your name. I read her book, and I remember it being in the charts. It was a Richard and Judy book club book, which are very big over here. Were very big over here. TikTok seems to have taken over that. This is another one that I listened to on audiobook. On borrowed from Libraries NI. However, I do have the physical copy. I am not sure what I've done with it though. I have it somewhere. I did not want to put this book down. I really enjoyed it, and if you had said to me what it was about, I would not have read this book. I'm not a thrillers person anyway, but if someone had said to me what this book was about, I would not have picked it up. I would have gone, no thank you, let's leave it at that. I'm not into children going missing. I hate children going missing. It's one of my pet peeves. Each of our own opinions, but I did really enjoy this book. The book is about a couple that go next door for a dinner party for their neighbour's birthday, and while they are away, they decide to check out their 6-month-old daughter every half an hour. So whenever they return home, which is just next door, they come home and they realize that their 6-month-old is missing. Now, there's different issues that are going on, and you discover that as the book goes on, that there's many other factors and issues going on. But it's about a missing baby, and that in itself I have issues with, and in most books I have issues with if children go missing or something happens with children. Yeah. This was a 5-star book for me. This was just, I rated it 5 stars when I read it because I thought it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it at the time. However, reflecting on it now, it hasn't really stuck with me, which is fine. Which is fine. It gave me what I wanted to in that moment, and it kept me on my toes. I don't think I could tell most of the twists. I got some of the twists, however, I really couldn't see most of them. Most of them I was like, what? I did cry. I cried when reading this, and it was mostly for Anne, who was the mother in the book, whose daughter had gone missing, and she was being the parents that are the ones that you look to, and she was being blamed, and you would blame yourself because you left your daughter alone. I mean, at one point, these mothers in her toddler group all come with their babies and come to the door with the babies, and it's like, how insensitive, you're showing me your children that you still have when I've lost my child. And it was really heartbreaking, her point of view. It was a fantastic character. I think the whole characters were really flushed out, and I enjoyed so much. But I really felt for Anne and all the people that were driving her insane. One of the things that annoyed me in this book was the men that were all trying to protect her, that weren't telling her things to try and protect her. And because they weren't telling her things, they were driving her more insane. The things that they were doing that were going to protect her weren't protecting her in the end. They were making the situation worse for her because they weren't telling her what was going on, or what they knew, or what they were going to do to rectify the situation. They were making her feel useless and her feel like she couldn't do anything. And they were making it worse for her. So the so-called help wasn't helping. Which makes me wonder at the help that we think we're helping someone out by not telling them something or protecting them and keeping them in the dark. Are we really helping them, or are we making the situation worse for them? I mean, the thing is, they were pushing her, doing the thing they said they were trying not to do. They were not trying to stress her out, and yet they were stressing her out because they weren't telling her things that were going on. Really, really felt for Anne, for the mother. Felt really sort of believable that it could happen quite easily. This book totally, it feels like the money is the root of all evil, because they think that a child is being kidnapped for a ransom because Anne's parents have money, and Marcus has issues at work and everything, and it feels like everything is money issues. If they didn't have money, would they have been in this issues that they're in? Which, would their child have been stolen if they had money? And so it's really, it's heartbreaking, but it really, the whole thing just really makes you think. And there were so many twists that I didn't see coming, which I love. I love twists when I don't see coming. This book was brilliant and addictive. I really didn't want to put it down. I wanted to carry on listening to see what happened. I felt like it was constantly a constant cliffhanger, constantly wanting to know, will you find the baby? Will she be dead? Will she be alive? Which is really heartbreaking. And who did it? I really enjoyed it at the time, and I thought it was brilliant. I couldn't fault the writing. However, it hasn't stayed with me, which is fine. But it was really enjoyable, and I think it's a really good read, which I think everyone should read. If you have not read it, please read it. It's very good. The third book in my thrillers for fall is Verity by Colleen Hoover. As I have said before, I'm not a big Colleen Hoover fan, but I really enjoyed this one, and I think it is because I enjoyed her thriller. Usually, Colleen Hoover books, the covers usually have a clue as to what's going on. However, I really don't get it. I don't get the cover of it, but in this book you have three main characters. You have Lowen, you have Verity, and you have Verity's husband, Jeremy. They're your three main characters. Lowen is an author who's not doing very well for herself. Her mother recently died and left her an awful lot of debt. Lowen has nothing, and she is a writer, and her books haven't done very well. And because of her mother dying, she has not been able to write because she's been caring for her mother. She ends up being called into this meeting, and in this meeting she has been asked to finish off writing Verity, her book series, to ghostwrite it, because Verity is unable to write her book series because Lowen has been evicted from her apartment and has no money. She ends up going to Verity and Jeremy's house to live there for a little bit while she researches the characters. Lowen has only taken this job. I don't think she would normally have taken this job because she doesn't even know Verity's writing, because she has no money and she's been offered quite an awful lot of money to do this. While she is trying to research the books and trying to find notes that Verity may have on her books, she comes across Verity's memoir. She reads it and gets to know Verity a bit more. And I will leave the summary at that. This book is creepy as anything. This book gave me nightmares. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's one of my favourite Colleen Hoover books, and I'm not a Colleen Hoover fan, but I think Colleen Hoover's writing is more suited to this aspect than romance, in my personal opinion. It's dark and twisty and gross. So gross. If you like this book, that's fine. If you like Colleen Hoover, that's fine. I am not a Colleen Hoover fan, but yet I keep reading her books for some odd reason. However, there are trigger warnings for Verity, and if you have issues with child abuse, child deaths in books, don't read this. I had a friend in work who was planning to read this, and I started reading it and I said no, do not read this. She has a small child and she is a worrier. Child's deaths are not something she would be into. It's so twisted and eerie and creepy, which I wanted. I mean, that's really what I wanted for my thrillers fall. Some of the twists I saw coming. The Verity's memoir was just, oh my goodness, so addictive to just carry on reading Verity's memoir, but so twisted, so twisted. And the twist at the end, there is a twist at the end, but I'm not sure I believe the twist at the end. But I do recommend this. However, there is spice in it, and as I said, I'm not a big fan of spice, but I think the spice adds to the creepiness. The whole, I think that's really the issue that I have with Colleen Hoover, is the spice, and I find it really addictive and really easy to read. Please look for the trigger warnings, and please just depict child abuse and other things, so please just be careful if it's not something that you're into. Yeah, it was definitely a creepy read, and I enjoyed it, and I hope Colleen Hoover does continue with thrillers, because they are something I think her writing does well for, and it's something I would be much more interested in reading from Colleen Hoover. Yes, so they are the 3 books that I read for my thrillers for fall, and I really enjoyed all of them. I thought they were really good and may continue, and I did have a couple more thrillers that I'd wanted to read, but unfortunately I have so many books that I want to read, they sort of got pushed onto the back burner. But yes, I hope you enjoy your lovely fall day and you enjoyed my book recommendations. If you like this video, please like or subscribe, and if you have any comments about the books that I'm talking about today, please comment and let me know what you thought of them, or if you plan to read them, or if you have any thrillers that you can suggest that I read. Please write them in the comment box, and enjoy your fall day. Thanks, bye.